Hi, thanks for ordering the Starting Line Products clutch kit for Polaris Boost models. Today, we're going to show you how to install it. First, remove the side panel on the clutch side of the sled. Then, remove the drive belt by screwing the belt removal tool into the secondary clutch to separate the sheaves. Once the belt is removed, remove the tool from the clutch. Mark the fixed sheave, movable sheave, spider in the cap using a black marker. Remove the clutch center bolt using a T60 Torx bit and a breaker bar. For this step, we recommend using an SLP clutch holding tool to hold the primary clutch in place while removing this bolt. Insert the tool in the clutch through the center bolt hole. Mark the hex head of the tool with a marker for a point of reference. Thread the tool into the crankshaft 8 full rotations. Put a 12mm end wrench on the hex end of the compression tool. Please note, do not use the wrench to spin the tool into the end of the crankshaft. This will be used as a reference point to make sure that the tool is not spinning any further into the crankshaft. Holding the clutch in one hand, spin the compression collar in with the other hand until it is snug against the clutch cover cap. Then, remove the clutch cover bolts. A note for this step, if you're only changing the weights, the clutch can be compressed to relieve the pressure off of the weight to remove the weight pin and the weight from the clutch without removing the cap or spring. But do not compress the clutch more than half of its total travel. Remove the compression tool from the clutch. Remove the clutch cover cap and remove the spring. At this point, this is a good time to inspect the clutch components such as the clutch cover cap, bushing, and rollers for any signs of wear and tear. Install the Magnum Force weights provided. Install the recommended amount of set screws and lock them into place using the provided lock set. Next, install the new spring. Place the cap onto the spring and reinsert the clutch compression tool into the clutch as we shown earlier. Spin the compression collar in against the cap and begin compressing, making sure your alignment marks that were marked on the clutches earlier in this process are aligned. Continually check the alignment of the bushing to the shaft as you compress to make sure that it is centered to prevent damage to the cap bushing. When the spring is compressed far enough to start the bolts, do so by hand. Tighten the bolts in a cross pattern and torque to 100 inch-pounds. A very important note for this part, do not use the cap bolts to compress the spring. Next, remove the compression tool. Make sure that the compression collar is spun out far enough that it is not contacting the clutch cover cap before removing the tool. This prevents pressure being applied to the tool as it is removed, which would cause thread damage. Reinstall the center clutch bolt and torque to 110 foot-pounds. After both clutches and the belt are reinstalled, run the engine and then re-torque the center bolt to 110 foot-pounds. Moving on to the secondary clutch, using the 15mm socket, remove the secondary clutch retaining bolt. Remove the secondary clutch assembly from the jack shaft. Using a number 30 Torx socket, remove the 4 Torx bolts from the helix. Use caution when removing the bolts as they can strip very easily. Heat may need to be applied to the bolts to aid in removal. Remove the helix and set the helix end screws aside. The stock helix will not be used again. Place the driven clutch in a clutch press tool, press the arm down and lock it into place with the chain to hold spring tension. Remove the snap ring with snap ring pliers. Relieve spring tension, remove the roller assembly and spring and set them aside. The stock spring will not be reused. Check the helix rollers visually and by feel to make sure that they roll freely and don't have flat spots, and replace them if necessary. Check the clutch sheaves for excessive wear and replace the clutch if any damage or hairline cracks are found. If using a Darlin washer, place it in the clutch. If the spring cup from the bottom of the clutch comes out, put the Delrin washer under it and replace the cup. If the cup does not come out, put the Delrin washer in the spring cup. Find the double spline row on the shaft of the clutch. Using a silver permanent marker, mark a line up the shaft as an alignment mark. Insert the new SLP spring into the spring cup. Place the roller assembly on top of the spring with the notch in the roller assembly aligned with the double spline alignment mark. The top of the roller is usually marked with a line where the notch is located. If it isn't marked, use a silver permanent marker to mark the top of the roller assembly. Using the clutch press tool, compress the spring, making sure to keep the alignment marks lined up as you compress. Once the roller assembly is slid into the splines, lock press the arm into place with the chain. Replace the snap ring using the snap ring pliers, making sure the ring is completely seated before removing the clutch compression tool. Align the double spline alignment mark with the X on the movable sheave. Reinstall the helix. Apply blue thread locker to the helix screws and install them using a ratchet and a number 30 Torx socket. Torque the screws to 110 inch-pounds. Next, apply anti-seize to the jack shaft splines. Reinstall the secondary clutch onto the jack shaft, making sure the clutch is completely seated on the shaft. Using the 15mm socket, install the stock secondary retaining bolt. Torque the retaining bolt to 18 foot-pounds. Loop the belt around the drive clutch with the belt direction of rotation in the correct orientation, facing so that the part number can be easily read. Using the OEM or an SLP belt tool, thread the tool into the driven clutch so that it opens the driven clutch. Push the belt into the driven clutch, starting with the top and moving clockwise until the belt is fully seated in both clutches. Slowly remove the belt removal tool while working the belt around the driven clutch sheaves to remove the slack in the belt. Finally, reinstall the side panel. At this point, your final step should be to run the engine and retorque the center bolt to 110 foot-pounds. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 208-529-0244. Or find us online 24/7 at startinglineproducts.com.